welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Rye and this is Rye's Reading Corner. Today I am doing the Reading Rush video. So for this tag, everything is centered around the different parts of running a race, which I think is really cool. And that's what the prompts are inspired by. So I'm not going to wait around because everyone knows probably about this prompt already because it's been around now for an entire week during the reading arcs. So I am going to get started. So the first prompt is, and I have my little notebook because I'm not going to remember them, is our warm-up. So a book that stretches your mind. So I kind of had a little trouble picking up books. I felt like I have a lot of books that stretch my mind in different ways. But I went in with the Port Chicago, Disaster, Mutiny, and the Fight for Civil Rights by Steve Shentkin. So this is a story about, it is a nonfiction book, I should probably start off with that, and it's about 50 black men that were in the Navy during World War II. I did not realize what it was like for a black male in the Navy during this time. They didn't teach this in U.S. history class. I didn't even realize that at this time, black males were not actually allowed to fight in the Navy. They did the jobs in the mess halls, the cleaning stuff. They were not allowed to actually fight. For these people that volunteered to fight, it literally blew my mind. I actually tabbed it when I read it, and I don't usually tab my books, of all the things that shocked and surprised me. It just literally blew my mind, and that they were all ended up being charged for something that wasn't true, and none of them actually lived long enough to see the reversal, which only happened maybe 2 years ago. So this book definitely opened my eyes to something I had not known. It's a great book. It's a quick read. It has actually photographs from the time period. And I highly suggest you read this, even if you're not someone that's really into reading about something that's happened in the past. I still think it's very enlightening and connects very well to what is going on today. So that is my first pick. So the second, once again, I am dropping books. I know we're all surprised. So the second prompt is this start line. So what's a book you started but never finished? So this is actually part of a series, and this is the Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. So I read the first one in the Dark Matter or the Darkest Mind series, and I loved that first book. I had borrowed it from the library, I want to say last summer. However, there was a time gap between myself starting this one and after I finished the first one, and I had trouble getting into this one, which I'm really sad because I loved the first book. So, I'm thinking I'm going to have to reread the first one and then redo this one again because I'm thinking maybe that's why there's that gap. Let me know if you have read this series, if you liked this. Is it worth me going back to the first one and rereading it and then just jumping into the second one, or completely just DNFing the series? Which I'm really sad because I loved the first book in this series. And I honestly though, it's a mashup of I would say dystopian science fiction, which I do generally like, and it's also apparently a movie, which I did not know. So definitely a book that I would like to pick up again, but haven't recently because I just couldn't get into it. I've tried so multiple times too. All right, that's 2 books now I've dropped. I don't know what's going on with me today. The second book is a sprint, so a book you read really quickly, and this for me was a really obvious choice, and that was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I love Elizabeth Acevedo. I read her books so quickly. I think I read this in a car ride. It is verse, so it makes it really nice and quick to read. If you're not familiar with this story, it is about 2 girls. One lives in New York, and the other one lives in the Dominican Republic that she lives in. And they don't realize they actually have the same father until there's a plane crash wherein that father dies. So it's kind of about their journey of grieving this father and finding out that he wasn't perfect and that he had another family, as well as them finding one another. This is a great book. After I read this book, I also have read Poet X, which I read really quickly, and I have her other book as well that I got as a gift from Michelle Reads by A. I will post a link below. She is awesome, and I'm excited to read her other book because I have given each one of her books so far 5 stars, but I definitely read this super quickly. It's captivating, and I think it is super interesting story and plot line. So that was for a sprint marathon. So what is your favorite long book? So I am someone that's kind of stayed away, I feel like, a lot of times from long books, and it's something that I'm starting to get more into, I think, since I'm getting into some different genres than I normally used to read prior to BookTube. But probably one of my favorite is The Hate List by Jennifer Brown. So this is about a girl named Valerie who 5 months ago from when the story was written, her boyfriend at the time went to her school and did a mass shooting. And actually she was also hit by a bullet as well. She feels guilty because before this happened, she and her boyfriend just wrote a list down of all the kids that have really been bugging her that she couldn't stand. And he took that list, and that was the list that guided the school shooting. So she feels super guilty once the hate list that she and her boyfriend created has been leaked out. She had no intentions of doing anything. It just was more of like a cathartic way to kind of deal with some of the bullying that was happening at school with her. So it's from her perspective of trying to confront this guilt and of people blaming her for what happened as she goes back to school that following year. This was super powerful. It does give like insights to some of the other characters of what happened after the school shooting, but it's mostly told on how Valerie deals with the guilt of what her boyfriend did and also how she didn't see the signs that something was going to happen and she blames herself besides just the hate list. This was really an emotional read, especially that I work in a school, so I feel like these hit even a little bit harder for me because it is a real fear that, working in a school, that, with school shootings. I actually had read this for a YA book or class that I had to take in college for my literacy degree for my master's, and it still is one of my favorite books. So The Hate List, powerful read. It is around, I think it's like 500 pages. I read this so fast, but because it's such a powerful and moving book, so I highly recommend The Hate List. All right, the next prompt for this is hurdles. What books had your ups and had your downs? So I've said kind of before in my videos that the Red Queen series is really kind of what got me wanting to explore a little bit more fantasy within the last, I would say, year or so. But the Red Queen series is one of my favorite, but I did struggle with the last book, A War Storm. And this, again, is by Victoria Aveyard, I think. So this is definitely a chunker of a book. If you've never read the Red Queen series, it's actually my special collection I have of the Red Queen because it's my favorite. I just bought it not so long ago. Absolutely love it. But this book, I struggled to finish. So this was kind of one that I was like, I stopped, went, and I finally did finish it, which I'm really proud of myself. It's about 600 pages. So technically this is the longest book I've actually read, but it's not my favorite of the series by any means. There are parts that I really liked, and then there are parts I felt like they were really slow and really dragged on. I felt like this book could have been shorter. It's definitely my least favorite in the Red Queen series. Still like the series as a whole. I still liked this book, but definitely had its ups and downs and fit perfectly for this prompt. All right, the next 3 for 3, dropping of books. The next one is A Finish Line, a book that I was proud to finish. So again, I found this was a little bit difficult too, but I did pick Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. I believe I talked about this in my mini review for a book that made me cry. I'll post that link below. This was a book that I would have not picked on my own by any means. It's a adult, like, contemporary book. It is based off a true story, but it's not. It's still fiction. A family was on an airplane and the plane crashed, and the little boy that was on the plane, his seat was just the way he was sitting in that special seat. He actually survived, and like I said, that is the basis of the true story. This story is alternate perspectives from the present and the past. So the present is him going on and growing up in life with losing his entire family and dealing with the aftermath of the plane crash, and the other part is told from the actual plane up until the point that the plane crashes. This was a super emotional read. I was proud I finished this for a couple of reasons. One, I have a big fear of airplanes. It's just like a big anxiety that I have for me. So reading about a plane crash, not always easy. Two, my dad does fly quite a bit for what he works. Obviously, since COVID, he hasn't been flying. So anything that has to talk about plane crashes kind of, again, aids to that anxiety, just because he does fly a lot and it's stressful. So, I am proud that I finished this because it had a lot of potential trigger warnings, but I did finish it. It was an emotional read. It's a great read, though. It is a great book. It is written so well, and it's an emotional story, but I think it's a great way it's written, it's also a coming of age story of dealing with a lot of PTSD and a lot of trauma as a child, obviously. So if you have not heard about Dear Edward, it's also a beautiful cover as well. I highly suggest you pick up it. It is an emotional read, but it is a great read. All right, the next one is The Gold Medal. So it's a favorite book that you've ever read during a readathon. And this actually, the book I'm going to pick is from my book I've read for the Reading Rush. And that is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This book I read in one day, and it's over 400 pages. I am in love with this book. I'm in love with Alice Oseman. I have read Heartstopper from her before. This is my second book, so I can officially say she's one of my favorite authors. And I just bought 4 more books from her that are coming in. This book was so powerful, I think. I think the coming of age story, and I think it tackles a topic you don't read much about. You don't read about asexual and aromantic relationships and feelings and identity at all, really, in a lot of young adult literature. So I think this was told brilliantly. I loved the topic that it discussed. I loved the character development. I loved everything about this book. I will link the video below that I read this for. I read this, like I said, it was in one day, so it was covered in one Reading Rush vlog. So I will post this below because I literally just talked about it. I could talk about this book for days and days and days. If you have not gotten Loveless, please go buy this book. It's amazing, and the cover is absolutely beautiful. And they did just come out with all these like exclusive covers for all these other ones, and I'm hopefully going to collect all of those. So, amazing book. All right, and the last prompt for participation ribbon. So an underrated book you wish got more attention. So for some reason I couldn't find my copy of this book, but it is The 57 Bus. So this is a nonfiction book that actually reads more like fiction, but it is completely true. It is about a young black boy who was on a bus, the 57 bus, and he was with his group of friends, and his friends were joking around, trying to tell him, you know, do this, do that with like a lighter, and they accidentally lit up a young child's hair. This other person was a transgender, and so it turned into if this was an act of hatred. Was it an accident? Was it not? What was it? So the story is told from the two individuals' perspectives, the one who had their hair caught on fire, as well as the young boy that actually did it and is actually in juvie for it as well. He was someone that struggled. He was finally coming around to making something better of himself when he finished high school, but then this happened to him. So it touches upon how acceptance, it touches upon young black boys, it touches upon how to cope with a traumatic event. This is a great story. It's an emotional story. Someone I know just read it, and I couldn't believe how great this was and how much it read like fiction, but it is a true base story. So it has rep in it. It's a great book. I don't really see about it touched upon much on BookTube, so it's the thing that I would like to touch on, as I think it really should be read. So that's all I have for you for this tag. I feel like my bookshelves have been destroyed since the Reading Rush, so I'm gonna, if you know what that feels like right now, let me know down in the comments. But yeah, so if you are new to this channel, I would love for you to subscribe and take this journey with me. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you never want to miss a video I post, press that notification button, and that way you'll be notified whenever a video is dropped that I made. And yeah, so stay kind, loves, and I'll see you later. Bye.